This is Algebra 1A, Unit 1, Graphs of Linear Relationships. I'm going to go over a few things on the guided notes from this unit. They do have all sorts of vocabulary, and there's a glossary in the class, so you can fill that out on your own. I just kind of want to go over graphs and main parts of the graph. So right here we have two axes or axes. Left and right is the x-axis, and up and down is the y-axis. And if you have a point, it will always be written like xy. So if you have a point, it's always going to be x first, like left and right first, and then x is left and right, y is up and down. Okay? So there are different quadrants. Quad means 4. So the different quadrants starts normally like this quadrant up here is what you see when you're graphing, because that's what you'll see. Most graphs in the real world will have that portion, and this is quadrant 1, and then you go counterclockwise, so this is quadrant 2, or 2, either way you want to write it. This is quadrant 3, and this is quadrant 4, so 3 and 4, and it goes counterclockwise. And then the very middle right here where they intersect is called the origin. So origin, it's like the beginning point. So anything to the right of the origin is positive, and anything to the left of the origin is negative, and anything above the origin is positive, and anything below it is negative. So in quadrant 1, your numbers are both going to be positive. In quadrant 2, your numbers are going to be negative for the x and positive for the y. In quadrant 3, both x and y are negative, and in quadrant 4, x is positive and y is negative. So that's just to familiarize yourself with, a coordinate plane or coordinate graph and quadrants and x and y and what's positive and what's negative. So here there are two graphs which show the same data, but in this first graph, the scale is too big. Like it goes 35, 70, 105, and this line is not a good representation of the data. And the second graph, the scale is too small. It only goes up like 1, 2, 3. If the time took 30 minutes, the scale should go from 0 to 30 on the bottom. So, and the distance should go, to at least 35. So this scale is too small. It's not showing all of the data. This scale is too big, and it's not a good representation of the data. So how can you know what's reasonable for the situation? This measuring cup, I have to zoom in, is 1 liter. See that right there at the very top, 1 liter. So it has a capacity of 1 liter. And you want to pick a scale accordingly. So you could probably pick milliliters as, like, what does it say on here? Every 100 milliliter would probably be a good, reasonable thing. Graphing, there are lines and there's a slope of a line. So for the slope, you can tell if it's rising or falling based on whether it's positive or negative. Here, the slope says -2, so that means it's going down 2/1. So that slope is falling. The next slope is 1/3, which means you go up 3/1. So that is rising. And if you want to know which one is steeper, it would be helpful to graph them. So for a slope of -2, if I were to graph this really fast, if I started here and I go down 2/1, down 2/1, it would look like that. If I were to graph 1/3, it would be up 1/3, up 1/3. So it appears that the slope of -2 is steeper. Even though it's going down, it's like more up and down than the other one. So here on a graph showing the distance and time traveled by two different cars, the steeper line represents, the red one is the fastest speed. Okay, and sometimes there's a relationship and there's a whole bunch of different slopes. So if I were to zoom in on A, has a slope of up 1/2. And then section B has a slope of up 1, 2, 3. So B is up 3/3, or it's up 1/1, up 1/1, up 1/1. So B is 1/1. And then C, well, whatever the scale is, I didn't really check that first. So C is right here, goes up here. So it looks like it's up 2/1, up 2/1, like that. And then D, it looks like it's up 1/3. It doesn't quite finish, but up 1/3 for D. And of course, you want to make sure, like, whatever your units are, it matches up. So you could also determine like which one of these, you might see a question on a test like which one of these is the steepest. C would be the steepest out of the different slopes. So I hope that this was helpful, and hope to see you in class.